however you want to put the
Is it on?
pronunciation on that.
She said it's on. You go ahead.
Tell you something, you can't find it.
Okay.
Millersville, Millersville, or what?
All right.
Right.
Rice. Y'all ready? I'll call to order Millersville Board of Commissioners Work Session Monday, May 4th, 2020 at 5 p.m. Discussion on ordinance 20-740, an ordinance to provide for the election of 3 city commissioners, and that should be 4.
The only change I saw also, Mr. Mayor, I think the ordinance is correct. The ordinance is correct.
Yes.
Anybody have anything they want to talk about? All right.
Yes, no.
Discussion on ordinance 20-741, an ordinance to prohibit the possession and consumption of alcoholic beverages on or in the premises of any property owned by the city. Passed on the first reading 4/21/20. Anybody have any questions on that one?
I don't.
No.
Nope.
Discussion on ordinance 20-742, an ordinance to amend the Millersville Code of Ordinances, Chapter 58, Parks and Recreations. Passed first reading 4/21/20.
I think we covered it.
All right.
No, I just want to make sure it says here that,
That was the prior.
alcohol, we talked about alcohol.
Yeah, yeah.
It does. And that says beer also.
Item number 5, discussion on ordinance 20-743, an ordinance to amend the ordinance 19-725, the 2019-20 fiscal year budget as previously amended by ordinance 19-730, 20-738, and 20-739 to reflect the actual revenue and expenses related to water damage at Fire Station 2. Any discussion?
How much damage?
Yeah, this hasn't been brought to you yet, so it won't go on first reading until the May meeting. But it does state in here that it was $15,311. And that is how much the insurance company sent us. So, and then $1,000 deductible, which we paid. So it's a total of $16,311 was the total damage. So you normally don't have to amend the budget for revenue, but we were getting the proceeds anyway, so I didn't want to have to change anything else. So it's better to offset the expense with that revenue, which is what this ordinance reflects.
Anything else? The cabinets have been ordered, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right. Item number 6, an ordinance 20-744, an ordinance to amend the Millersville Code of Ordinances, Chapter 90, zoning, by repealing and replacing the entire chapter with the adoption of the new zoning ordinance. Anybody got any questions?
I'll tell you this, the planning and zoning met with this with Mr. Prairie. We went over it for about 45 minutes, and he was explaining some changes that we may not have understood, and which we do now. But I'll let the commissioners know that the planning and zoning voted unanimously to accept recommendations to come before this board.
With the changes that the planning commission made.
Yep. Thank you.
I've got a question. Based on the zoning classifications in here, is all of our classifications going to change, like R1, R2, R3, R4?
So those would be, once this ordinance is passed, they'll be converted to the one that most closely aligns or identical to what it is right now.
So,
For example, R1, the state residential, which is 5 acres and larger, the letter definition will change, but it'll still be the same thing.
okay.
I think he'll be,
Yeah, so the actual, way we have it now, R1, 2, and 3 will change to the new letter designation.
Right. So it'll be like, RR, ER, SR1, SR2, MFR.
Yeah, that is correct. And there is one new zoning classification, which is a lot the size of 12,500 square feet. So we have 10,000 right now, and then it jumps up to 15,000. So there's one intermediate class. And the reason I kept that is if there's potential development where they want to do that, we actually have one more option for lot size.
For what?
For lot size.
What about the commercial districts? Are they more broke down than they have been before?
They're broke down in the list of what's permitted and what require conditional use.
Are they similar to what we have now?
They are, and one of the questions that I brought to the planning commission that I will bring to this board is, I did not include a zoning classification for mobile home parks. So right now we have 5 or 6, I believe. So there is not a zoning classification, so no one can come into Millersville and want to have a mobile home park.
Yeah, the way I've always known it to be is the property that is R5M is for mobile home parks, but the only property we have that's R5M are the mobile home parks.
That is correct. So that zoning was not included in this ordinance, so those would exist or continue to exist as an existing non-conforming use.
So what would they be called if somebody comes to replace a trailer in a trailer park? How is it listed?
So they'll be allowed to continue to do so, and we put a provision in the ordinance that if you replace a mobile home, it would have to be no older than 2004, which is the date that the state of Tennessee started enforcement of mobile home inspections.
And that would include the trailer parks?
That's correct. It's one of the problems that we have right now is people bring in trailers that are still 30 years old that don't look any better than the ones that left, for whatever reason.
Is there a stipulation that they can't have a single wide, it has to be a double wide, or just?
The only place that single wide would be permitted is where they currently exist. So you can't bring in another single wide. You just can't buy a piece of property with a single wide.
Okay.
It has to be.
Well,
That's consistent with their current.
Well, you gotta have so many acres to put a double wide on.
Right.
Modular home now, I think is what they're called.
So I want to get this straight. So if we have a single lot out here right now that has a single wide trailer on it, which I know we have several of them, if that trailer is removed, you're telling me they can put another trailer, another single wide back?
No.
Okay. So the only place they can remove and replace a single wide trailer will be in the trailer parks themselves.
That's correct.
But the one thing you do right now, on the residential property, single wide, you can't figure what single wide,
You cannot.
and I got a little double wide.
And we have to meet the zoning classification for minimum structure requirements.
Is the R5M zoning classification in here at all?
It is
No.
not.
Okay, doesn't it need to be mentioned to identify the existing R5M?
It does not.
Okay.
So what will happen is when we put the overlay or replace the zoning map, it will be zoned as whatever the most closely aligned zoning district is, or a residential property over 5 acres is how it gets zoned. So.
But the trailer park,
Yeah, with the intent that if that trailer park left, most likely, if that was ever sold, that it may be sold for residential development.
so the only way that they would not be able to put trailers back in a single wides in a trailer park is if they sold the whole trailer park and removed all of them.
That is correct.
What about these new tiny homes? Is that considered a single wide?
We have no zoning for tiny homes, and it's still kind of the wild west in the planning world as far as what to do with them. Because there really isn't a zoning classification for any community that we're in right now, unless someone bought a large piece of
So what I'm getting at is the guy that had the single wide on his own property, he can't just say, "Well, my single wide dilapidated, I'm gonna build me a tiny home."
No, he can't. The reason that he can't do that is the residential building code has minimum square footage requirements for a home. So you have to have a bit of a kitchen size of X amount of square feet, same as bedroom size.
Okay.
So there are minimum requirements there.
Let's go back. If a trailer park wants to remove a single wide mobile home, they can replace that single wide mobile home with another single wide
That is
mobile home
correct.
that's 2004 or younger.
You're newer, yes.
Newer, yeah. Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
I would look at that and a lot of trailer parks are just gonna take them out.
All right, okay, thank you. What if the trailer park owned that one right there, and they said, well, we're not going back with that? Well, the individual says, I've got one, can I put it in there and live in it?
It would have to be no older than 2004.
Okay,
It would have to be certified by the state of Tennessee. They come out inspected the first department.
all right.
But that's only in a trailer park.
That's only in the park.
Correct.
Right.
Now, if you own the trailer park,
Okay, say I didn't own it, yeah,
but say you did own the whole trailer park,
okay.
20 trailers, and you wanted to sell it to David Gregory, you can sell it to David Gregory, and David can continue having that as a trailer park.
See, if I wanted to, I could take the 20 trailers out and replace them with new ones in a trailer park.
Right.
That's the way it's written,
And the trailer park has to be a conforming trailer park, right? In conformance.
according to the ordinances.
It'll be non-conforming.
It'll continue to operate as an existing non-conforming use. So it can stay as long as it remains. So as long as it's a trailer park, it can always be a trailer park forever.
Okay, what I'm getting at, you can't have a mobile home trailer or a tag-along or a motor home
You
in,
cannot.
okay,
That's
that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
okay,
getting at.
yeah.
Yeah.
No.
And if, like if one right now is just non-conforming, as long as it's still got one in it, he's good. If he had to move that one, then
Correct.
it's
So
all.
just to, yeah, so your answer is if they're in a trailer park, happens to be a travel trailer or something that was there.
Right.
As soon as that travel trailer leaves,
Right.
the only thing that can replace it would actually be a single one. You couldn't bring in another travel trailer.
Well, okay, but the one I'm thinking about, there's no way to put a single wide even on his property, they still call it it's a non-conformance right now.
Correct. Yeah, and it wasn't
So he couldn't replace it.
he could replace it. The thought behind it is it's not denying any existing property owner the right to have a trailer park. So the theory behind it was that we didn't want to have more trailer parks. We didn't want someone to buy a parcel and say, I want a trailer park. So that is the thinking behind this route.
Whether it's conforming or non-conforming.
Correct. Yeah, so
Okay.
that if the zoning
All
doesn't
right.
exist,
All right.
then it can never be used.
Okay.
And if I remember correctly, since we're on this topic, I think we discussed not having any more used car lots. Is that in there as well?
So one of the other things I want to bring the attention to the commission is, we did not include the zoning district. Right now, if you want to open a used car lot, you'd have to get a special exception permit. That's how our current zoning ordinance exists. So because we have 7, 8, 10 used car lots right now, that is not included in this zoning classification at all. So not by special exception, unless it's a new car dealership, like Ford,
The
Chevy or
difference,
something.
that's the difference.
I was gonna say, yeah, because that wouldn't meet the criteria of a BZA, because that wouldn't be a hardship just because you want to open up a used car lot.
Right.
So you would not be permitted to open a used.
Right.
That was another, that's a good point.
You couldn't get
You could not.
a variance.
So it does exist now by special
Right,
exception,
yeah.
and you have to go to BZA for, so that luxury, if you will.
So the car lot there now, I would be.
Correct. If it's a car lot now, it can remain,
Can it expand in any way?
it cannot, so the use cannot expand.
But if you got 10,000 square foot, he can't go to 10,500.
He cannot. That's correct. So nothing that was done in this ordinance was designed to deny the rights for the ability for someone who already owns a business here to continue doing that. And to a certain extent, it actually builds in some protection if you do have a car lot, that there won't be more competition for your business.
Right. So eventually you might be the only,
Maybe at some point.
and then you're in good shape.
So the only other direction that I asked for the council up here is we had a discussion that is beyond the scope of my position here that was discussed, and I don't know if there was ever a consensus, is the zoning ordinance does not include provisions for massage parlors, tattoo shops, and currency
That's in
exchanges,
there.
quick cash places.
It's right there.
So
Our zoning does not allow tattoo shops or,
it would not under the zoning ordinance. So, and I bring that to the commission because there are schools of thought studies about links between crime and certain businesses, and I'm not implying that at all, to not deny someone's right to open a tattoo shop. So I'm asking the council to either agree with what's not in there or add it back in. So those exceptions were, again, the tattoos, parlors, the quick cash, payday loan places, and massage parlors.
well, we had a quick cash place here.
I'm sorry?
We had a quick
Right over there.
cash place at
Under
one
the old
time.
one that we did.
It used to be right there.
So how did it open?
I know, it existed in our previous ordinance, but it would not exist in this.
So they were allowed in the other?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
If you remember,
I thought this was mirrored after Hendersonville. I thought it was mirrored after Hendersonville, like Hendersonville.
Yes.
No.
Somewhat.
he took out what,
He took out what Hendersonville got and took out.
that he felt like we probably wouldn't want here, you
Although
know.
like Hendersonville, they had a used car lot there, one for used car lot, and we can't, they can.
Correct. So,
Yeah.
so changes that were made were at least closely more aligned with existing conditions in Millersville and Millersville's plans for expansion. There were things that were added arbitrarily just for the sake of doing that. A lot of things we're taking out. We don't have a historic district. We don't have waterfront districts, things like that. So the content of the ordinance itself is mainly undisturbed for the sake of being uniform.
So I thought a while ago you said that car lots could come under special exception.
They, in the current ordinance, by special exception of the BZA, they
Yeah.
could come. But in this new zoning ordinance, there will not be a classification that will permit a used car lot. You could have a car dealership that also sells used cars, but not a standalone used car lot. And again, that's open for discussion. If you still want that to exist.
Well, I don't know how that would work. Does Hendersonville not allow used car lots?
Hendersonville does allow used car lots. That was something that was removed from this that I discussed with the planning commission. I can put it in there. It's not a problem to put it in there. Some of the feedback that I received from some of the planning commission members is there's enough used car lots in most of them.
Well, I agree there's enough here, but let's just say they all chose to move out and then you have none. There's no avenue for a new one to come in.
As long as the car lot is a used car lot, it will always be a used car lot. Once that special exception has been granted, it exists in perpetuity. We're actually going through that with Jones Auto Sales down the street right now. He sold the business, someone bought it, and that can continue to operate.
So if somebody has a car lot right now and they sold it, and it sold, let's just say it sold 10 times in the next year, it could still be a used car lot.
That is correct.
There's just no new used car lots
Yeah,
allowed.
that's
So you
what,
couldn't buy a piece of property and say, I'm going to open a used car lot.
yeah.
But the used things on the car lot, they would go back to the correct.
Correct.
And I'm just asking, what is the reasoning behind the tattoo parlors and the other stuff?
So there have been studies with ties to crime, criminal activity, behavior. You can probably check with the police chief, you can probably just look
Yeah.
at statistics.
If you remember, it came in front of us years ago. that,
I've never voted on
Lynn
tattoo.
Crouch was going to put on planning and zoning. It did. Lynn Crouch was going to that where you used to have your business. He wanted to turn that into a tattoo parlor. Under the old ordinances, it's considered adult entertainment. And the planning and zoning stopped it because we didn't want to create anything else coming with it, adult entertainment or anything else to come with it, because it fell under the same heading. So you never heard about it, never got to the commission, so we stopped it there.
So,
About a year or two ago, I think. Because we didn't want that in the city. We didn't want to start something, so we stopped it right there. Planning and zoning did.
so I'm just gonna ask the obvious, simple question. What's the difference in getting a tattoo here or going down to Gillespie and getting,
Well, they can go anywhere they
or
want. It's not
Hendersonville,
here.
or
Way out.
White House?
They can go anywhere they want to. I'm nothing against tattoos. I'm not putting nobody down on tattoos. I just didn't want it in the city, or the planning and zoning did not actually in the
For
city.
what reason though?
Because
Why don't you want tattoos in the city is what I'm asking.
the tattoo parlor under the old ordinances falls under adult entertainment. So anything that falls under adult entertainment,
Tattoos ain't adult entertainment.
it falls under it. That's why the
I get it.
commissioner back years ago set it up. That's the way it's been.
Under the our old code.
I'm not disagreeing that's what it says in the old ordinance. I'm just saying tattoos are not adult entertainment.
This,
The primary reason I think that the planning commission agreed that tattoo parlors wouldn't be brought into the city of Millersville, not that they were against tattoos on the body, was the statistics and showings that along with that, a lot of times criminal activities also arise. So
Another consideration is hours of operation. They tend to stay open from 10 to 11 o'clock at night.
So does nightclubs and restaurants. But we want restaurants. McDonald's stays open 24/7. We're gonna let them come in?
Not the one with that.
yeah.
well, there ain't no tattoo parlor attached to them.
Well, I'm just saying, if the reasoning is because they stay open all night, McDonald's stays open all night.
The primary reason that I thought that tattoo parlors, and I'm speaking only for myself, was the showing of the criminal activity that accompanied tattoo parlors when they arrived in that vicinity, whether it be classified as adult entertainment, but looking at the police statistics from Metro in Hendersonville, Chief Miller up in Hendersonville, there's a tendency that tattoo parlors, and it doesn't mean that all of them do it, but there's a tendency that there's some criminal activities that comes along with it, along with massage parlors or some other things. It may be unfortunate that they're classified in that same category, but they are.
Well, I mean, to me personally, I could see less crime at a tattoo parlor than I can a store that sells alcohol or beer.
I'll agree with you there.
But we have stores up and down the highway that sell beer.
But they're not drinking it there.
How do you know that? You standing there watching them?
No, I'm
You
not.
telling me
saying
there ain't nobody out there
tattoo
drinking and
either,
driving?
So, Mayor, let me suggest this. We could include it back in the ordinance as a conditional use. If someone was interested in doing that, then they could go to the planning commission for approval. And the planning commission could have criteria perhaps. I'm just saying that maybe if you look at a good concession would be a restricted use, if you will, or just like a conditional use, saying, we're not saying you can't, but if you do, you need to get a conditional use to do that. So there'd be a little more control over where.
Oh, I agree with that. I agree with that.
And it needs to be, if you were to allow it, in my opinion, it needs to be allowed in a commercial area or some kind of industrial area.
I would agree to that. All I'm saying is the other cities don't say no to a tattoo parlor.
A lot of those strip malls, they're putting them in.
I have 3 kids, and 2 of my 3 kids have tattoos. But they're just as good a kids as the one that don't.
Well, that's not what we're saying about that. But when we get to where we
Well, they're
do
not
have-
criminals.
when they,
And we're not talking about the
No.
individuals, we're just
No,
talking
no.
about the business. And we're not talking about all of the businesses. We're just talking about statistically, a lot of the business, a lot of the ownership of some of the businesses have some criminal activity involved, but that doesn't mean all of them. And that's just statistics.
The guys where I got both mine in Hendersonville are the straightest, nicest people you ever want to meet.
Yeah.
And he don't allow no BS at all. I mean, you go in there and you start any stuff, or any foul language, he'll ask you to get out.
To me,
The second time he tells you to get out.
To me, it's like any other legitimate business. You have good ones and you have bad ones.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, we have convenience stores in the city right now that will sell beer to an underage person. They just will. But we have some that won't. So
You know it.
it comes back to the person.
Did.
To me, it comes back to the person. I'm not saying I want tattoo parlors on every corner, but if we had a legitimate businessman that wanted to come in, he should have an avenue to be placed somewhere in this city if that's what he requires, if that's what he wants to do.
So that if we were to allow it by conditional use, the other question, for example, would it be industrial use? Because this is what I'm going to have to change between first and second reading. Would that be industrial use only, or would we let it be any commercial, but always by special exception?
Which commercial has like strip malls?
Well, currently it's C3 commercial right now, so I don't know the exact classification, but it would be comparable.
So it would be whatever.
What is this right up here? Where Kraft owns or used to own, whatever.
I don't know.
What is that zone?
I don't know what that is.
C3.
Most of the C3 is at large interchanges, such as at the interstate or at Bethel Road and 31.
They don't need a whole lot of room to have a tattoo parlor.
Well, a legitimate business, somebody that has a legitimate business, if he's a good businessman and he runs a professional business, won't do anything to keep him out of the city. Now, I'm not going to go get a tattoo because I don't want one. Well, that's just the difference between people.
I have to agree too, and I know of a couple up where I live that, I've never been to them, but I've been to restaurants beside them or whatever, and I've never seen any activity outside. Now, I don't know what's going on inside, but I've seen people coming in and out. And, again, I don't have any tattoos, but, I know a lot of people that do, and they're friends of mine, so.
Yeah, I do too.
Now,
It could be this little cash and dash place y'all were talking, that'd be a good place for
That'd
it.
be a nice
Or
little place.
Right,
But
so.
you also know now, when you say tattoo, it's gonna also include piercing, body piercing. Because that goes along with the tattoos in a lot of these places.
Most of the women I know have earrings.
Well, you need to go up there.
Yeah.
They have them in awful different places.
No. To me, there's no difference from getting your tongue pierced or your ear pierced.
They ain't doing either one.
Well, I'm just saying, what's the difference?
Like I'll always tell them, I already got enough hole in this old body.
So general commercial would be the appropriate spot for it, or it could be as a conditional use. It could be anywhere if you want to do it that way, but always by conditional use, but I think general commercial would be the appropriate place.
General commercial, what is that turned in?
Basically any kind of retail, strip mall type of place that would.
And that would be C1 now?
Correct.
That's up to y'all. I don't see a problem with it if it's done right, especially if they have to get a special exception. So that way they'd be coming in with a site plan or a business plan of what they want to do. I guess the planning commission would handle that. They would have the opportunity to talk to them, find out what they're looking to do and how they're looking to do it. And if it's a reputable business, I don't see why we'd want to try to keep them out of the city.
They have to have health cards, well, not health cards, but they have to have a health inspection. Just like everybody else.
Under this new ordinance, that doesn't fall under adult entertainment, right?
It doesn't,
Pardon me?
it doesn't.
It does not. That was a hang up for me back
Right.
several
I
years ago.
remember.
And to a certain extent, this ordinance does not address, anything like, future issues like, hemp retail or medical marijuana and stuff. The two other animals for, at some other point that the council we have to address, but not part of this ordinance.
Do we have any medical marijuana shops in Millersville?
No, because it's not legal.
Illegal.
CBD or is?
CBD is.
CBD
yes,
is not
I didn't
verified.
say cannabis, I was talking about CBD.
And that's just a
Do we
general.
have that in Millersville?
I'm not aware if we do.
I don't know of any.
I know you've got one right down here beside the liquor store. They sell right there in Gillespie. There's a sign, big as that wall, I think that would be like a placebo myself. Haven't tried it, and I ain't gonna try it, and I think that would just be a placebo. Oh, that makes me feel so much better. I asked my doctor about it. He said, I think it's just a placebo myself. He said, some people swear by it, some people say, it didn't do me a bit of good. Put it back on here.
So, getting to the part where it deals with signs in here, how restrictive are we gonna be on these signs?
Same question I raised.
Are we gonna go down and tell the apartments, which have cleaned their act up tremendously, that they gotta take their banners down?
No, the only provisions in the sign ordinance, again, any existing sign will remain as an existing sign. And there are some more protections there. If a store goes out of business, they would have to move their signage. Their signs became deteriorated, start falling apart, they have to repair them. But it's no more restricted than we currently have.
Okay, so if Larry gets ready to have a yard sale and nails a sign up on the pole, we're gonna write him a ticket?
No, it's,
If it's Larry.
yeah, I think.
It's called CMT, they can.
Yeah, and I think there's.
I don't think that's allowed
there's,
anyway.
Huh?
different
I don't think that's allowed
discounts
anyway.
They do it all the time.
Yeah, I
they
think
do it.
it's allowed though.
No, I know it's not allowed. There's a spot in there that talks about it. That's got a thumbs down
And they take all the signs.
somewhere.
Yeah, I saw that.
But I think we got a lot more important things to worry about than a sign nailed to the pole. I don't see it now.
45,000 nails in it, you slip
On page 239.
like a meat grinder.
238.
Yeah, there it is. I passed it.
What's our height on signs now? As far as height?
I don't have that information, I believe it's 18 feet for a
18
full,
feet?
for a full sign. But I don't know what's it.
Said it used to be 10 by 10 for a standard sign, 100 square foot.
One thing I was thinking about is, if you've ever drove through Atlanta or Roswell, it's like Millersville is out of Nashville. They don't have anything probably over 12, 14 feet tall, and they use most 99% of them are brick facade, and then, a sign itself. And you ain't looking, sometimes you don't even see it, and that is, once you do see it, beautiful. It's really pretty. I saw some pictures.
I can't ever remember a tattoo parlor that's ever wanted to come to the city. Just the
You do.
one. The one.
About 2 years ago, 2 years ago,
What was it? I couldn't hear you.
tattoo parlor. About-
Yeah, it's about 3 years ago.
And I actually think they went through their reports.
Yes, I think it did.
I got my papers all uneven. All
What
right.
about, were we talking about home for the aged?
Well, I'd like to define things. We talked about through this area, setting back. I mean, some of these signs, we don't have a lot of space, just like the library sign, and to be kind of be in there. So I'm thinking in some cases, some new signs like have they talked about, you let us know that they could be taller under certain provisions, correct? There's an area where the road is narrow, where there's not a lot of room for.
Yeah, pages 225 to 226 talk about sign heights and types of signs, so the sign ordinance is very generous to allow people to do what they want. And the sign approval would be part of the site plan approval for the planning commission, so it would not be someone necessarily coming to the planning department saying, I just want to do this. Typically, it's going to be the planning commission's.
I do know that a general rule, I believe, for sign placement is behind the utility poles, is what I understand. So I do know that we do have some that are maybe or this side of the utility pole, but if you go down the road, it's my understanding that the utility lines are, and if you go through White House.
They have to be outside of the right of way.
Right, so they have to be kind of behind that, the line of the utilities.
A lot
And
of times the poles indicate
Yes.
the backside.
exactly, and if you go through White House, you will not see any on this side of the utility poles. So, but I think existing signs will be okay, but in the future, they should be behind that. We need to follow that rule of thumb.
But technically speaking, with TDOT, since this is a state highway here,
Yeah.
if TDOT decides that they don't want these signs in the right of way, they're gonna come in and tear them down.
Because we do have a couple that have those little rolling, those portable signs, yeah, that may be,
Now, I think portable signs are completely illegal in Hendersonville, where this ordinance came from.
That's correct. Yeah, and only, there are some provisions for temporary signs or special event or something, but not as a permanent sign.
What
The other
about
things
the-
that's addressed in here is also the ability to have electronically illuminated signs, which do not exist in our list.
I noticed in here, like home for the aged, we're not going to allow home for the aged to be.
Correct.
So we don't want no old people in Millersville?
We don't want you in here.
Or kick them all out. Where are they gonna go?
This old guy's already got his.
I do have,
Gordo don't want them no more.
David, you got moved, buddy.
No, I don't know. My old house is up there on that hill with me.
Darn, I thought.
you and Milton can move in together.
So assisted living facilities would not be allowed?
Still,
They are allowed?
It does allow nursing homes, but what is, I guess the question I have is, what is a home, what's the definition of home for the aged?
Assisted living.
probably a definition that,
It's like a veteran's home would be home for the aged veterans.
So you don't want no veterans in here?
what page is that?
76.
there is a definition, if I may, residential home representative is held out to the general public as a home which accepts primary aged persons for relatively permanent, domiciliary care, providing room, board, personal services to four or more non-related persons, minimum lot size, some requirements there,
Like an assisted living,
essentially.
kind of like what they got up in White House.
That's what they say that up there in White House.
Maybe read that, what hospital is there.
Yeah, so maybe not the scale of a nursing home, but like a home for the aged.
Yeah, Jennifer's got an uncle that's been in that one in White House. He's been there for 8 years. And that's probably where he'll end up dying. I mean, he loves it there. And they take
What about
really good
Park
care.
Place in Hendersonville? Would that be considered a home for the aged? It's been there, what, 20 years?
Is that over on Walton
Behind the
Creek?
old, behind the police department. It was
Yeah.
the police department.
Yeah, my neighbors, Mr. and Miss Aldridge,
Yeah.
Philip's mom and dad, they moved over there. That's another one. It's the same thing. You live on your own, but you have somebody that comes by and does whatever it is you need them to do, whether it's cook meals,
Yeah,
serve
they
meals,
have
whatever.
a cafeteria at Park Place.
Yeah.
You can have, go down there to eat, and they have activities. Or if you don't want to come down there, you can have, well, each of them has a kitchenette.
Yeah.
You can make your own meals.
That's what I say. It depends on the level of care you need. When they first moved in over there, they pretty much done everything themselves. But as the years went by, it got to a point that one or both of them had to have a lot more care.
a lot more expense by it than that. She did.
It was a very nice place.
Oh, they're wonderful.
And I think it's important just, obviously, we're very fortunate to be able to incorporate this zoning ordinance from another community, but, essentially, just don't forget, there's basically 2 roads that can be developed commercially in Millersville, 31W and Meadow. Maybe we'll get some outliers and a couple of little ones, but we don't have that much space to develop. So, well, yes, there are a lot of different uses that are in the ordinance that are listed. That was done for clarity because everybody has a different name for a business now. It's really difficult for planners to try to fit some uses into a box. So while they may have gone overboard by adding a lot of different uses, we're still back to the same concept that we're very limited in what development we are most likely going to see are going to be strip malls here, a few freestanding restaurants, buildings, gas stations, those type of uses, and just making sure that that those fit within the parameters of the direction the city is trying to take. It's not to exclude anyone, but the likelihood of maybe seeing a nursing home along one of these 2 thoroughfares is probably very slim. So, but we know how to handle it because we have a guiding document here that helps us through that.
Well, it does permit independent living. And there's,
Anybody got any more questions?
I do have a question, not so much pertaining to the zoning ordinance, but I have been asked by a couple of people about whether or not you guys want to restrict or how you want to address Airbnbs. We don't have any guidelines or anything for Airbnbs. I know a lot of cities have. Do you know anything about that, what they're doing?
So when you talk about Airbnbs or VRBOs, which are vacation rentals by owner, what makes those different, because that's a question that I get all the time from people is, well, why can't I just rent out a room in my house? Why can't I do that? So the difference is you are a legitimate business, you're reporting taxes on that. You're obtaining a business license for that. So we don't address those 2 uses here, frankly, because we don't have that much, at least in my opinion, area where we're going to have being a destination spot for people to have those type of uses, not saying that they don't exist, because we do get calls on it. So the problem is, how do you regulate? Because, I can't go to those sites on a regular basis to see what rooms are for rent in our community. We just can't do it. Just don't have the time or the resources. If you call someone on the phone and say, hey, you can't do this, they might take the ad down, wait a week, and put it back up, put it on Craigslist. So just to be able to police that would be a nightmare itself.
And I think some of the fear from the subdivisions or the neighbors, whatever, are the party houses.
Yeah.
People come in and there's a huge party going on at these Airbnbs. And that's the direction they were going when they would talk to me about it. They are concerned. Yeah.
They're just listed on the good list, if you want to find them.
Yeah.
With our.
So you would almost have to address it as maybe a nuisance situation with the police department.
Yeah.
So we're saying we don't want Airbnbs?
We are not saying.
No, it's not that we don't want them. It's just I know some other cities have put regulations in place.
Yeah.
So eventually we may have to, I don't know. But I have been asked by a couple people what we're going to do about them.
Well, I've had people approach me that are interested in building large areas of basically Airbnbs. Smaller day rental stuff.
I think that's more of a commercial project though, not a home in the residential area.
Keep in mind too, we have a Tennessee statute, Tennessee code annotated, that allows for Millersville, for hotels and motels, that we can collect an additional 2% room tax for hotels and motels, and I think they defined it to include Airbnb. If we come to some kind of, I'll go back and look at the statute, but I mean.
Me personally, I think we need to have a provision for them.
I think if they at least register with the city, then we know exactly which ones are for that use. Don't mean that everybody's gonna do it.
Beach and Bay County, you have to register.
That's what I'm saying. I know some cities you
You
do.
pay a tax, local county, state tax, and you're regulated pretty heavily.
I know for a fact, I know of one large Airbnb over on Hogan's Branch. And I'm talking about a 6,000 square foot house. And it's gonna stay rented just about every single weekend.
I think I know what you're talking about, yeah. Yeah.
Which would, well, I guess, which would beg the question, then, did that Airbnb register with the city with business license?
Nope, it
It's
registered
in the
with Sumner
county.
County.
Yeah, I believe it's in the county.
And it is registered with Sumner
Yeah.
County. No, it's not us,
But I think
we
it's
need
good to
a
have them
provision.
registered so we know and they pay tax, right? So
Yeah.
that is a revenue that we are not collecting.
I mean, in East Nashville, every fourth house is an Airbnb.
Wow.
And there's a lot of money coming through Metro for permitting and associated fees with Airbnbs. It's a big number. And I can tell you right now, they're closer up here than you think they are.
And I believe Goodlettsville has had to address it here recently. They may have already done it, but
If
So
you
that
had,
might
if you had a place in Millersville that has an Airbnb, especially if it's close to the interstate, the savings that you're gonna get versus staying there and staying downtown, 20 minutes away, is gonna be unreal. I know a guy that owns one down on 16th. He takes in about 21,000 a month on Airbnb.
and I will tell you, now my son and them have rented one to come and stay around the Portland area. And it is out in the middle of the boondocks,
Yep.
out in the country. And I looked at the register book, the registry, and they had rented it like up to September. They'd already rented it like 25 times that year.
It's no
And it's out in the
different.
middle of nowhere.
It's no different than going to the mountains and renting a chalet. It's no difference. That's all them are, is houses that people own and they rent them out when they're not there.
Before this corona stuff, you could probably hardly find one for under, if you had to
Oh, I
have
know.
reservation
Right.
for a year out.
Right.
Yeah.
That's how
And the
busy.
closer you get to that ball field,
Oh, boy.
the higher they are.
I mean, there are people that are vacating their home to
Residents'
rent.
sustainability ordinance, maybe not part of this document, because at least then I could research what some of the other communities are doing.
That'd be a good idea.
And bring those to the council and say, here's the best of what's here.
Mhm.
You know, and just have something that, could be easily repealable in the future if it was, necessitated to do that, or make revisions to it separate from the zoning ordinance.
Yeah, to me, an Airbnb is different than renting a room at your house.
Yeah.
If you rent a room at your house, that is not legal. That's,
That's called boarding now.
not unless it's registered. I mean, if I rent a room to David's son-in-law at my house, I mean, I'm renting a room. I mean,
It's in your house, and I don't know what business is it of ours. That's what I'd say. It's your home.
well, it's against the law though. You're
Is
not, yeah, you're not supposed to have two permanent residents in the same household.
All you gotta do
Not
is,
family residence.
Um,
is just build a breezeway.
yeah.
Here we go. More barn.
So I guess the key word is renting. They can
Remember that.
stay, they just can't rent.
You know, the duplexes and stuff down in Nashville that rent to the colleges, they rent rooms, but they're considered Airbnb. They rent for a certain amount of months while they're in college for Belmont and Vanderbilt.
Oh, in someone's home.
Well, it's in a duplex. They rent the bedroom and then the rest, the kitchen, living room, laundry room, all of that is common area.
Oh, okay.
And you're renting a room, but it's kind of like a dorm, I guess.
Expensive.
Yeah, they ain't cheap.
Does that mean I can't rent my upstairs in my new house?
Sure.
Can't illegally.
You're in a lot.
I'm gonna call the mayor and tell on you though.
I know, the mayor might get in trouble.
There's just one final thing that I want to call your attention to. The zoning ordinance does not have provisions for the expansion or adding campgrounds in the city of Millersville.
But the campgrounds that are currently in Millersville can remain as long as they continue that use.
That is correct.
Is that basically like somebody having a trailer on a single lot? If that campground leaves, can they come back and resell it as a campground?
It can be resold as a campground. So, but I would caution you that we don't have legally conforming campgrounds, at least the ones that we have right here, as it is. So,
Yeah, no.
But we're working on it.
Yeah.
so just be very clear that we don't have legally campgrounds that if they were, for any zoning violation right now, you have the zoning violation that exists in our current ordinance, it will remain a violation in our new ordinance. They don't need a free pass.
Okay, makes sense.
So can a campground come into the city now?
Under this new zoning ordinance, the answer would be no, unless you decide to add that provision back in for campgrounds. So we're very limited on open space right now as it is, so I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get a large parcel. I should never say never.
Oh, there's several spots.
Yeah, but they have to have water and sewer.
Okay.
Under this new ordinance, I can't remember what we all talked about on the campground. Can they extend their campground?
They cannot. So I guess kind of where I'm going with the whole discussion here is there's limited space to develop. Does the commission want to develop it as campgrounds or as retail that generate certain tax revenues? So I guess I want to make sure that distinction is clear because the city of Millersville needs that revenue.
I'll give you a perfect example of Meadow Lane up there behind the Owl's Roost. There's a piece of property, 20 or 30 acres behind it that wanted to come in as a campground. Make perfect sense to me. I mean, don't think you're going to get a retail business to locate up there behind the Owl's Roost.
Well, that's something that we can consider location, just like we were talking about earlier, a tattoo parlor in a
It might-
industrial area or something.
Might be something you want in there as a special exception. There's certain criteria they'd have to meet and certain restrictions, and if they're willing to do all that, then they would be allowed.
But that special exception, that's BZA, that's go in front of BZA.
Probably.
It would be a special
Probably would.
exception, conditional use.
So that would come from the planning and zoning, conditional use.
It would come from planning and zoning, would not come from BZA. So special exception is BZA, conditional use and planning commission. So it'd be a site.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, makes good sense. Makes
I think that they're going to get all the direction that they need. You know, there are areas in this city that would work well for campgrounds just because of the lay of the land. That down here on the Menifee property, there's portions of that would work great for a campground because it's not going to work at building houses on it because of the terrain.
Well, they can't get that road down there, probably floodplain down there.
Yeah.
And they move further out, campers out, then it floods. So it's a good move out there.
Could you
Milton,
put-
no one can hear you with your mask on. I was sent a text. They can't hear you, but they can't hear you.
What'd you say, guys?
Oh,
So I'll return that then. Like I said, I want to make sure there's full disclosure because I don't, I shouldn't say that things were intentionally taken out. So that's why I'm calling attention.
Yeah, I just like some of the stuff fall under a little bit of guidance if it wants to come. Not just say, yeah, we're open to anything, but certain things, maybe with the right guidance, would be allowed.
let me ask you a question. If Carl Shane used that lower end property down here next to 31W and used camp and put campers in there, that's in a floodway. Is that considerable, what we need to consider, or is that not?
So's the KOA.
It is, this in the periods too.
It's like
that
Milton
wouldn't
said,
be-
they can be tied to and drug out.
So it's not a special exception, it's just in the floodway.
You can't build anything in a floodway,
No, it's true.
but you can put a parking lot in it, and that's what you're doing. You're parking a camper.
Gotcha.
I mean, you're not going to get anything built there, so it makes perfect sense to be able to gain some revenue through a campground rather than gain nothing.
That's right. I agree 100%.
Like I said, the stuff that I'd rather see stuff not excluded, but whoever wants to do it, come and seek guidance on how to do it the way the city would like to see it done on stuff that is touchy. You know, it's just like we got alcohol by the drink passed several years ago. It was a given. We're interested in something like Logan's or Texas Roadhouse or something like that. But we don't want some bar that was around in the 70s where they just go to drink to get into a fight. That's not what we're looking for. You can drink at both of them. I don't know if these little roadside bars, there ain't many of them left. We don't want them. I don't know of anybody that does want them. But that don't mean you're going to exclude all drinking in your city limits. I mean, just about everybody I know has restaurants that serve alcohol, but 99% of it is regulated and done the right way, and it causes no problems.
Colorado Grill stays busy.
There's another one.
Colorado Grill's got good food.
Yeah. And that's got a
We
little
should
bitty
all
bar.
open back up.
Now you can get takeout. I've already got takeout.
It ain't the same.
No, they are opening, and they posted it on Facebook, and I
Oh, yeah.
forget what day. This,
Cracker Barrel opened back up Monday, but they don't start serving breakfast at 8 o'clock. And that does mean no good.
The work and the Waffle House is closed.
are they?
Yes.
I don't understand that one at all.
They're in Davidson County.
No, listen, down here's in Sumner County.
Is
Well, if you rent a room to somebody that'll make you breakfast in the morning, you won't have to worry about that.
So you have to call that a dependent.
I'm ready for Cracker Barrel to open back up at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Me too. Andrew, do you see a lot changing in here?
Very minor changes, it's just changes to the table, and there's just a modification to the table of contents. Some of the numbers are off on page numbers, so that'll be available by second reading, just a couple pages that I'll print off so you can see the changes that were requested by the city commission tonight, make sure those are available for public hearing and second reading.
And just let us know, we can post the full thing online, or we can email it to you, but we didn't know if you wanted
No,
us
that-
to
what I-
make the changes and then print you another one of
No,
these. We will just print the changes that he makes, those pages.
Yeah,
And have it with the ordinance, yeah, okay.
Sounds good to me. Anything else on the zoning?
I got a question. We've got two planning commissioners here. Y'all have any comments? Any other-
I'd like you guys to review the porches and deck section of residential. I think it says things, just check, I was uncomfortable with us saying that front porch, or side porches not being enclosed, and some of these off-road areas, would that be another special exception? On some of the, if you look at the section of the porches and.
What section is it?
What page is that? Just go to the page.
I did, left my, I'm sorry,
Do you know which section deals with porches?
I do, and I don't know what part of the
That
ordinance
is either.
would address that.
under the section where, the graphs are checked, where it says yes and no, they do allow
Being
in
the first one.
the residential section. It was
It's
A
one,
lot of our.
page
our
142.
roads or houses that are off, you know, not close to the road, if you notice, they may
142.
have balconies or porches that are screened in. And I was, is that still okay? I thought
Yeah,
that
there's,
we couldn't
there's
have balconies.
nothing changes, that's regulated by the building code, so there's, people can have screen porches in the back, so that doesn't change in this ordinance. I think what you might be referring to is encroachments about, building into setbacks. I think is what you're referring to.
Okay, all right, thank you for clearing that up.
I just wanted to double check and make sure drag strips are still not going to be in the new ordinance. Drag strip, drag strip.
drag strip.
Can't hear you, they're drag racing.
There's racetracks are still in this zoning ordinance by conditional use.
But drag strips were expelled from our old code of ordinance.
And if they're not listed in here as a permitted use, they're excluded.
Okay.
We don't have a drag.
She don't want one.
Have we ever had
We don't
one?
have, yeah, or motorcycles, really.
Yeah.
So what I read on from my house, what I read on the porches
That's a good place to drag through there.
is that if it has a roof over it, then all it says is it has to meet the setbacks, the side setbacks, the rear setbacks, and it cannot encroach into a utility easement. If it's just a patio that has no covering over it, you could cover 90% of your yard, but it would not be able to have a roof.
Correct.
And that's basically how they deal with it in Metro. If,
Like 4 feet room.
well, like I had a building down there that we was gonna build, and there was one corner, the side and the rear setback, the side setbacks was 5 feet. The rear setbacks were 20 feet. Because it cut on an angle, part of the back, they considered that to be a rear setback. So when the porch, the covered porch went in there, it got to within 12 feet of that setback. And they said, no, you have to cut that off. So we cut it off to match the angle of the property line to stay 20 feet off of that property line. The porch still goes out there where it went, it's just a certain portion of it doesn't have a roof. Does that
Correct.
sound right? Because I found it hard to believe that anybody was gonna tell you you couldn't have a porch on your house.
Well, it was enclosed, I think it says enclosed.
Again, as long as you meet the setbacks, you can build whatever you want, as long as you meet the setbacks. That's the key thing, and not encroach into a utility easement. Like if, let's say there's a utility easement that run up your side yard for, I don't know, NES or the gas company, and you decided to build a screened-in porch over there, well, it makes sense. You can't build over that easement.
You can't build any utility right.
Right. You wouldn't be able to get into that easement because now to fix their pipe, they'd have to tear your porch off.
One other thing I would ask is that, well, I do have this on a special meeting after this work session for first reading. So do you all feel comfortable with the changes that you've talked about to go ahead and approve it on first reading?
I do.
I know.
Okay. Okay.
I ain't read on it, but I have no idea. I mean, and all we can read on it.
Yeah, this takes 3.5 hours to read it.
Well, everybody read it.
No, she read it 3.5. It'd take me about a day.
Well, we had it 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. I read the Millersville one. I'd read this one
It's
now.
not ours a few days before, and it was not hard to read, it was. We got ours on Wednesday.
Like you said, we'll read it, we'll understand it.
Yeah, I started reading it, and I tell them, well, you gotta go back to this section over here, this is whatever, you know, skip around, but I just spent 15 minutes going back to one little spot.
Well, if it was still part of our whole, so, you know, it's not a whole lot has changed.
I'll be willing to say this, it's a lot easier to read than our old one.
It is.
Yeah. Oh,
At least this one has pictures to illustrate what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And well, it makes sense.
I want somebody to learn how to
I like that kind of stuff.
So let me
They
just-
show me something.
Let me say in closing that our old zoning ordinance, every time you make amendments to it, it's supposed to be part of the document. That never existed. But going forward, we're kind of creating this new baseline that whenever there is a change, because the city commission discovers an error, inaccuracy that has to be amended, we have the ability to do that. We'll be able to track those changes going forward.
So let's say we adopted this and then 6 months from now, we decided to change something and it affected something on 3 different pages. What would you do? Would you just print off those 3 pages and replace it into the
Yes.
master
Yes.
and then change the wording on the internet on just those 3 pages?
Correct, and at the very beginning of the zoning ordinance, there will have to be a page, if you will, that says what that change was and the reason for it and the date of the ordinance.
And then it would refer to the pages that changes were made to.
That is correct.
Okay, that makes sense. Anybody got anything else? All right, item number 7, discussion on ordinance 20-745, an ordinance to rezone 1124 Louisville Highway, Lot 2, Sumner County Map 140, parcel 71.00 from residential R5M to commercial C4. Where is that at?
That's side meeting,
Right behind him.
the side meeting.
It's right behind him.
I thought it was.
24 is Chad.
No, I don't.
So he's taking the R5M out.
Right.
Where'd he go?
That's all he needed to tell me.
Well, he didn't have a mobile home.
Did we discuss this in planning?
Huh?
Yes, this came through planning commission at the March
10.
meeting. Yes, and that was approved to rezone the second half of his parcel to the same zoning as the self-storage units. And this section will be for outdoor storage like clothes, campers, RVs. So it's just, it's an expansion of his use on the same parcel. It originally was zoned as multifamily, and his needs have changed, and that's why he came to the
And is it gonna be gravelled and fenced, or how's it gonna be? You remember? I can't remember.
It'll have to go, this is just to rezone, it'll have to come to the planning commission site plan approval, so.
Okay, so you ain't brought
You
this
can't
out.
park vehicle with a motor on asphalt.
No, you can't. Not legal oil.
Has to be gravel.
Yeah.
That part. Now,
That's
motor,
what we discussed that back there. a little
something
bit.
like that, then
We
the travel
discussed.
trailer, then, tag along, then he can,
Yeah.
fifth wheel, then he can
Yeah,
put
they
it
won't
on
leak oil.
asphalt.
I would almost say that it'll be gravel.
Well, economically, yes.
But he theoretically could put it on storage somewhere, correct?
If he so chooses. But again, it's not to be approved by the planning
It's
commission,
done.
this is just for something.
And he's not talking about the whole 8 down here, right, the very bottom? He's only talking about the top, right, or did y'all rezone the whole 8?
Don't know.
If you look at his letter that's attached to this ordinance, it does say that he's requesting C4 zoning to allow for the construction of additional self-storage units adjacent to the units I just finished building. So, that's his letter attached to this ordinance.
He told me, all he was gonna do is up here on this top, right here, about 3 acres on the flat part, was to do what you said, for parking. Now, and I know he's got that funds for that, because I got the plans for that now. This other part, it's gonna take so much excavation, so much money in his excavation, that was a lot of his problem. I'm not saying a problem, but a lot of his expense was excavation down there because of the rock. You know, it took probably 5 to 6 months just busting rock and moving because he couldn't dynamite. See? Because of the houses and the residential property around us and the interstate. But if he wanted to do that, and he wants to put the whole thing, that's fine. I can't see an 8-acre parking lot.
Well, based on what
But he's
his
got a lot
letter
of drainage
says,
down there too.
Mike Holly, based on what his letter says, he may build more units.
Right, that's fine, yeah.
So,
I have no problem with that. they've been nice. I mean, I have no quarrel with any of them.
I'll have to say, it looks a lot better up there than anything else that's been there.
It's ever been there, yeah. Yeah.
So-
Yeah. So let me tell you, I've been there for almost 40 years now, and I can tell you what used to be there.
So, anybody have any questions? Number 8, discussion on drainage ditches out of the city's right of way.
Now, I have both, I have Jerry here, and then we have, this is John Vogel, if anyone has not met him yet, he's the stormwater person, and he has put together a presentation on the stormwater, and I believe it has to do with flooding too. So did you, I don't know who wants to go first, if you want to give your presentation and then,
So my recommendation essentially covers the difference between, what is flooding and what is considered stormwater utility responsibilities. So that kind of allows us to separate what is an actual issue within the city that we can, as a stormwater division, approach upon and correct, as opposed to other things we can't.
and I asked him to do this, because this was a question I had.
I apologize for the side of the screen.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to see that. These glasses ain't gonna help me at all.
I got some binoculars in the truck.
I couldn't see it with them.
So the neighbor went around, so they follow along.
Is it that?
So.
Yeah.
What is stormwater? Stormwater is rainfall that is not absorbed by the ground. So essentially, any water that is not soaked into anything can soak into the soil, store it on the land surface, in ponds and puddles, and evaporate or run off. The stormwater system is a system that is designed to carry rainfall, runoff, and other drainage, minimizing crop drainage. It is not designed to carry sewage or unacceptable hazardous waste. An efficient stormwater system can handle rain events of 2, 5, 10, 25, and 50 years efficiently. The same system is designed to contain flow rates of up to a 100-year flood. So to kind of explain what that is that's a percent. So a 2-year flood is something that you see, there's a 50% chance it's going to happen. A 100-year flood will be a 1% chance. The whole design of the system is to minimize and mitigate property damage. So the duties of the stormwater division is primarily to oversee and maintain the city's stormwater systems, also to mitigate and minimize property damage due to flooding through the city's stormwater systems. We oversee developers within the city limits to ensure that projects won't cause any further problems, and work in conjunction with the city engineer during planning phases to ensure all sediment and erosion is under control. Pretty clear so far? What stormwater doesn't cover, personal property damage as a result of flash flood events, erosion due to blue line streams, and sewer overflow, main water main flushing, and runoff created by a fire. So essentially, a lot of these problems that we have right now within the city, where there's flooding on personal property, is not a stormwater problem. It is not part of the stormwater system. The stormwater system mainly controls the water that comes through the city's right of way. So off our roads, the water that is expelled off of other people's properties and into the city right of way. While stormwater flooding correlate, these flooding oftentimes alerts the city's potential stormwater issues, things that we can improve, things that we can mitigate better. Erosion is oftentimes a serious problem during flood events, and we can relate that flood events to plan and improve the current stormwater city system by better controlling the water flow from the properties and right of ways. So we get all these engineers and everything involved in the project to control that water flow coming off of the property so as not to overwhelm the city's stormwater system. In conclusion, the stormwater system is help mitigate flooding from destroying personal property by controlling flow rates from existing properties.
Do we have a policy that says we work on private property?
Yeah, we got any SOPs for the,
We don't. We have our flood, we have our stormwater ordinance that basically just covers, you know, what essentially the stormwater system does, what is the stormwater system in the right of ways. It's chapter 19 ordinance. Essentially that's all it does.
So the stormwater system has authority in the right of ways.
Yes.
They have authority anywhere on private property.
what's the reason I brought this up, and I asked the mayor to put this on here, is the property on Lambrey, was that engineered?
That was not, well, it was not really engineered, no.
Okay, now the culvert that was put in, Michael Barr told the property owners if they would buy the culvert, the city would put it in. And that's 30 foot off. It's 5 foot over the right of way.
Yes.
And the further, they wanted a ditch. The ditch was dug, it held water. The ditch is 39 to 40 feet. I measured. I know exactly what it is.
It might be longer than that now.
It is.
Going up the hill.
And it still needs work. Now, all of this is private property. That's the reason I asked for SOPs. Who give the city the authority to do this?
No one has the authority to give the city to do this.
Did Michael Barr give the authority to tell the city to go over and put a culvert in that's 30 foot off?
As far as I understand, that was the agreement that was reached.
Well, why was that done on private property? That's my question.
Well, and John wasn't here back then.
No, he
and
wasn't.
So we brought, so Jerry, I believe,
No
is the
offense.
one that could answer. Sorry, John. Thank you for your
My point
presentation.
taken.
But Jerry, we did bring Jerry in, and he may know some history about this. He's aware of it.
More that was done by a previous administrator. That was out of the right of way also.
Jerry, come up here, please, where they
Yeah.
can hear you, if you don't mind.
You want to step up, just step up there by John so they can hear you.
Yeah, well, they can see and hear you. We all know what you look like, but they want to hear you.
Yeah, Langford, one they're working on currently. And there was a couple others. Since Mobley left, new city manager comes, Karen Miller. This homeowner approached the city manager and we went over here and heard this one here was actually expense for the city paid for one, or estimated when I put it forward. Had a hall there in, dig the ditch out, and see straw that yard.
Okay, was that private property?
Yes. But they told us any water comes out the roadway, city maintains.
You know, we just heard what that is.
What property?
All around 723 line break for old, Mr. Carney. That ditch was about 130 foot approximately.
So,
It was off the right of way also. We was told to do that also.
Who told you to do that?
The previous admin,
Carrie Miller.
yes.
So
Said
that-
water that come off the roadway is the city responsibility.
That's what she said.
but that's not where it's coming from.
No.
I mean, there's some water off the roadway coming from there, but the majority of the water coming down those, coming off them hills.
Well, let me say this, Jerry, you're doing what you're told. I'm not here to point fingers or anything, but I just found this to be unusual that we're on private property in the city doing city work and charging taxpayers money to do private property work. And I just want to know why we're doing it. That's all I'm asking, is why are we on private property? And why are we still on private property?
Like the one on Langford.
Yes, why are we there?
That is, well, because they said it's coming off the roadway up there, but they're not logging. It's coming off the road right
The city
there.
didn't do the logging though.
Uh,
The city didn't do any logging.
no.
Thank you, thank you.
My question will be, I have always understood it as we work in city right of ways and drainage easements, but we never get on private property. I know the large item pickup, we won't go up somebody's driveway to pick up large items, correct?
Correct.
And the reason being is we don't want to damage their driveway and then be responsible for it. It's the same thing with a driveway that's out of the right of way. If you run a dump truck or a backhoe up there and damage some of that driveway, then they're going to expect us to fix it. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, whatever's happened in the past has happened. But I think moving forward, we should not be working on private property.
Of those three items that you mentioned, Jerry, do we have any other promises made to your knowledge?
I don't know. If, they haven't come through me.
There was, and I told him, we will not do it.
Thank you.
And where was that at?
Yeah.
He just committed payment to that whole fee.
And where was that?
That was just farther down,
Where I think it was Martinez. The last house on the right on Ninth Road.
I mean,
What's passed is passed.
it has, and I mean, there's no need in beating that horse.
Have you finished that one?
I went on dropping it in with the, skid steer and
So
hardware.
yeah, he still has to finish the one that was started.
Yeah, and I would probably finish that. I mean, I wouldn't leave it a mess. I'd go over and grade it up, seed it, destroy it. But I feel like in the future, we don't need to be off of city property or right of way or utility easements. At no time should we be on personal property.
And I agree with the mayor, and also I agree that if anybody ever directs you to do work on private property, that you need to contact one of the commissioners or the mayor, or somebody that is in an elected position to let them know.
And if there's any questions, like say I made a call and I wanted a culvert replaced over at my house. And I said, well, it's in the right of way. And you're saying, well, no, it's not. Then it ain't the city's responsibility to prove where that culvert is. If they want it replaced, let them get it surveyed and tell you where the right of way is, tell what's your property and what's not your property. And if it's in the right of way, the city may fix it. If it's on your property, just have to get somebody to fix it. If you sell a piece of property, you can't sell that property if you don't know where your property's at. So you'd have to get a survey. If you get ready to build something on your property, you have to meet setbacks. There again, you have to get a survey to tell you where your property's at. Or you can take a chance and build it, and then if it's wrong, the city might come along and tell you to tear it down. So,
Scopes.
Yeah, but
the city's not asking you to build anything. So if you want the city to work on something that's in front of your house, to me, it ought to be the homeowner's responsibility to prove that it's in the right of way.
what concerns me is now that we've done this and we're going to finish it, we get another 50, 100-year rain. Here it washes it out.
Then it's his.
It has to be here. That's the reason I'd like
And I'd
to
make him sign off on that.
And
Yeah,
that's what
that's something
John
done.
mentioned, yeah, he's going to, we'll need to have him sign off that
Yeah.
it's his
Well, I'd
responsibility.
still like to see an SOP for public works.
That is the SOP, stay off
It
private
has to
property.
be. If it's not, I haven't seen that, or he wouldn't have been on it if he got off the SOP, because that's standard operating procedure.
Well, I think what has happened is, well, we know what's happened. We've had other people in authority to direct Jerry to do what is outside the limits of the stormwater ordinance. I mean, we do have an ordinance, and I would like an SOP also, but I'm just saying the stormwater ordinance has been in effect how long?
For a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
20 years. And so essentially what has happened is Jerry and John, even though John wasn't here, were instructed to ignore the ordinance and work outside of the ordinance and do something that was.
Yeah, I think the stormwater ordinance is the SOP. It clearly states, do not work on private property.
We can adopt it. We need to have it something.
We've already adopted it.
Need to be
Right, right.
adhered to.
We've had it for 15 years.
If it's an ordinance, we adopted it.
Needs to be adhered to. Needs to be honored.
I never would start the problem. If they did it in my watch,
Yeah.
we never would start that.
And if anyone would have read the stormwater ordinance, they
would
shouldn't have
have
either.
said that as well.
Right.
But
And-
in that situation, I felt like I had to continue when the city started.
Yes,
And
and,
I can understand.
yes.
I do too.
And
Yeah.
also too, and one of the reasons I had brought this up to John, is I did get several calls and complaints, and I see it on the social media about the flooding. because we had some bad rains here a while back. So, but in my mind, I wanted John to please clarify for me and Brian, because I'm gonna be honest, if everybody expected us to go out with our little stormwater fee of $4 a month and repair all of these flooding issues and stormwater, that rate that we're collecting each month is not going to correct one of those issues.
But all
It's
we're
just
supposed
not
to be
enough.
taken care of is what's in the right of way.
Correct, but that's why I wanted him to clarify on his end. And that's why I asked him to do that too.
Yeah, I
And he
mean-
did a great job, because people need to understand, that's not what you're paying stormwater for.
There's water that runs
So-
off my hill every time it rains. But I
Right,
don't ask the city to come over and grade my driveway back up
Right,
in the
right.
driveway.
Yeah.
Do it myself.
and I guess there are some things, Jerry probably has a list of things that, may need, addressed. But, so, anyway, thank you, John, for that, and Jerry.
Appreciate you, buddy.
So it seems pretty cut and dry to me. We're just not gonna work on private property.
Correct.
We're at day 4.
Got that, Jerry? Yeah. Y'all have any other questions for Jerry?
I don't.
No, don't either.
We did post on the website, I noticed, we had a couple questions about the cleanup day that was supposed to be May 2nd.
Well, I got a phone call about that one.
We did post on the website, and we did not put it on social media, but I know there was a misunderstanding about some signs were supposed to be put up.
Here's on the website.
Yeah, and I'd like to thank
It's on the
Melissa
website,
Smith. I
but
don't
not
know
the
who
social
Melissa
media.
Smith is,
For June
but she
20th.
called and gave me a cussing Saturday morning.
Who is that?
Melissa Smith?
Yeah,
Who is?
I don't know, Melissa Smith.
Yeah.
Oh.
She had a load of debris and there was nobody down there to take it. And we're all a bunch of stupid, ignorant city workers.
She could have took it to Gallatin.
That's what I told her. Told her to have a nice day and carry it to the dump. And she said, well, I might just bring it to your house and drop it off in your driveway or drop it off at City Hall driveway. I said, well, yes, ma'am, you do that. I'll have a police car meet you there. And that was Melissa Smith.
Smith.
Yeah.
did she have proof of residency?
I have no idea. She was hot, though. She was
We
mad.
can sure find out.
I don't think she's related to your Smith.
Melissa in our family.
Because she talked rudely.
Clarified that,
Yes,
didn't you?
So I do apologize, the signs did not get put out, that it was postponed, but we did post it on the website, and I believe some of the billings, we were able to post it on the sewer bills, that it had been postponed. And you saw it on the website, we knew it was on the website.
Yeah, but I got it in the newsletter with the sewer bill.
Yeah,
I didn't read the sewer bill. I
okay,
looked at the newsletter.
newsletter.
Came with the sewer bill.
okay, yeah.
But I had already seen.
It had the old date on
It
it.
was June
Right,
20th, so.
okay, good.
And I'd like to say this, for all the people that bring stuff to the cleanup day, we do that as a courtesy for the citizens at no cost. But they need to keep in mind, that is their junk. If they want to get rid of it any other time other than those days, carry it to the dump. They're open a half a day on Saturday.
Those dumpsters cost $3,000 every time we do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Plus the manpower,
Plus the
the
manpower,
labor for our public
our
workers,
$3,000 cost the city.
yeah,
just for the dumpsters, it may be more
That's
than
just-
that.
and the manpower.
Yes, it's probably around 5,000,
Yeah,
And I
maybe
don't know
4
if
to
we have
5,
to pay by,
$450 per container, times eight.
Yep.
times 8, 4 times 8, so,
As
yeah,
we come down, we got 60
That's
containers,
about $4,000.
and we was full before,
yeah,
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Commissioner requested an additional 2.
right,
3,600 just for the dump.
Not to mention the manpower it takes.
Right.
I mean, you pretty well got the whole
Yeah.
public works crew there.
yeah. And we'll get a little money off of the metal or the white goods, I think, but not a lot, but yeah. And they do a great job.
Very gracious to allow us to speak. Do you mind if I?
No.
Thank you. On that, there was one day that I drove our city for a couple of hours, and I documented big piles of bulk trash, and I counted them, and to our public defenses, there was 45 piles of large debris on that particular day, not counting the brush. There was 30 street, brush. And then not counting the stuff that's just thrown over the guardrail in places. So there's just a lot of that. I know they go every other week, if you're away, you can pick all up. I know they're doing this pickup, but you just see the trash.
Well, the reason, and the biggest reason for it is they won't call and get a work order.
I understand that.
They stick it out at the road and think the tooth fairy's gonna come
The
get it.
rest of us residents drive by the trash on a daily basis, and it downgrades our city and our homes and our values to drive by bumpers and treadmills and
Then I would-
mattresses. I mean, 45 is a lot.
My opinion would be is I would stop and talk to your neighbor and tell them that they need to call in and get a work order. Because we have sent out notification after notification and they don't get it. You know?
It was in the newsletter and it's on the website, so.
I've seen that, I
Right.
do, but in the meantime, is there, I mean, a lot of it has been corrected, that I've seen, but it's, I mean, one of the other reasons for the limbs and brush, the residents in our area, since we've had a fire on one rate, is concerned of brush not being picked up in a timely manner for a fire reason, and there is, it's laying out.
Again, if they don't ask for a work order, how does he know to come pick, well, how did,
Everybody has to call for a brush.
Are you backed up on brush pickup?
Brush pickup. And it's because I don't expect Jerry to use the taxpayer dollar to drive around the city looking for brush to pick up. I'm gonna take the responsibility to call up at City Hall and tell them, hey, can y'all get somebody out here to pick up this brush within a week or so? I just want to take it, I have it to the road, so they can't come off the road. And about, 2 or 3 days later, or whenever Jerry gets the work order, he sends somebody out and picks it up.
And they pick up, Jerry's at Tuesday or Thursday.
On Tuesday and brush on Thursday.
So brush on Thursday and he has no pending work orders. It's all been picked up. So, correct.
Our
So,
citizens
yes.
start taking responsibility.
Things out there, and then people come by and put more stuff on it.
Yeah,
Well, what-
may I speak on this?
Yeah.
We've addressed this in code with door hangers. So when we find these places, when I'm driving and inspecting,
Oh, wonderful.
we drop the door hanger, we put the date on there, it's got a tag to rip off, so that I can come back a week later and check and see if they called. And if they haven't, there's another door hanger. There's not that much that I can do about codes, but that is what we're doing, and that's why it's been corrected to where it has to fall.
Great, that's wonderful to know, that's great.
But, and on the brush, they'll continue to pick up until it's done by work order. So, yeah.
and I'm gonna say this, when it comes to the brush, most of the people out there use the brush pickup for what it was intended for. Limbs that fall out of your tree.
Right.
There's a house on Bethel Road. They cut down a poplar tree that was 4 foot across and piled it all up out at the road for the city to pick up. And that's just not what it's intended for. It's not intended for tree removal. It's for brush pickup, small brush that you pick up out of your yard. If you get ready to top your 6 trees in your yard, pay somebody to come get it. Because in my opinion, we're not gonna come get it. That's just not what that's not what the service was intended for.
That's why they did it, because they didn't want to pay the pickup fee. You know, a big tree themselves. You know,
I guess.
And I did talk to that one on Bethel Road. He is, by the way, Jerry, he told me he's gonna get the rest of that picked up. He's gonna take care of it himself. I told him we would not get that. The rest of those big logs out there. He's gonna take
Yeah, I
care
mean, it
of
was
it.
a whole tree.
Yeah.
He paid somebody to come cut it down, but he didn't pay somebody to haul it off.
And he did say that they cut down part of it, the tree trimming cut down another part, and, but he said what's left there, he will take care of it. But, yeah, so.
So a lot of the bulk item and a lot of the trash is simply because people will not call and get a work order. I know there's a dresser sitting on Slater's Creek right now. It's been sitting there for about 6-7 days. And I can almost guarantee you that nobody has called in a work order on it.
But Jerry said that they're caught up, there are no more.
That's what I'm saying. people get in a bad habit of just putting it out there and say, well, somebody, the Tooth Fairy or the Easter Bunny will come fetch
Have you
it.
seen that one?
And Woody Jones gets, Woody Lane gets dumped on a lot up there on a regular, I don't know if you guys can come up with a solution, it's always been an issue.
The solution is, if we find where they illegally dump, if we can find somebody's name on something in there, we send them a nice little card from the police department.
And a lot of the dumping, if it's illegal dumping, or a lot of that is private property, or, and it's really up to the property owner to stop the dumping.
This is on this side of guardrail, on the road, in Murray.
Because I know we had some, I believe it was up on Woody Lane, and it's on a property owner's property. And Crawford Hill, yes. And it's, they're responsible for their property and keeping it clean. So, right. So. Okay.
All right, item number 9, general discussion. Anybody? Milton?
But
Anybody?
I will say one thing, I know on Foley Road, when you come down the hill right there on the guardrail, that cardboard box, and I was just about to regulate it's been there about 2 years. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, it's almost a year.
I turned that in today.
Huh?
I turned that
Oh,
in.
right down the curve? Yeah, I'm leaning against the guardrail.
And that's about to regulate.
Have you done have you called in to City Hall?
I will say, on Pole Hill Road, I picked up 2 big bags of trash that apparently the people that like to cut through like to throw their styrofoam, Starbucks cups, and all sorts of stuff out there. And over the last 3 weeks, I picked up 2 medium-sized garbage bags of stuff on my property, Citrus property, and even across the street of the illegal welding shop. Well, I'm gonna pick it up.
I don't recall you calling me about a cardboard box. Oh, yeah, I don't remember that. But
There's a guy right down the road right there, where they got that, like, past that little dip in the road, still in that road down there. There's not heat. That hasn't been fixed, but anyway, right down from that house, or down from there, the guy had a trash, limbs and all right there, where he piled up on that little bridge, like it used to be the bridge. It's got a culvert, you don't talk about here. Foley Road, where the culvert is on the left-hand side, front of the guy's house. He piled it up right there, and, he called it in, and they were coming to get it. So they got it from the guy, I told you about the same time as the other.
I get that box tomorrow, I've got a question. That property, the cities up there on Federal Road, everyone lives here. You want us to mow that, or is Wade gonna mow that? The city property just bought, with the red house going on.
I would say, do you all have time to mow it or no?
We gotta just make time, what we gotta do.
Right. We just have to notify Wade. Okay. I don't, will Wade's mow it that tall? We just have to notify Wade's. We just,
Or you wanna put it on, we do that retention pond, knock that out while we're doing retention pond.
Why can't we just take a tractor and bush hog it?
Yeah.
I mean, it ain't gotta be finish mode.
yeah.
No,
Just hit it 2 or 3 times a year with the bush hog. Well, I don't think the city attorney has any comments.
No, but I did want to speak for him. I will. He did notify me, and I sent the email out to you all. The Lanham case has been postponed.
Of course.
I believe it was set for the 21st, and they have canceled that due to the virus, and Mr. Lanham being an 80-year-old man. So, so he will try to get another court date as soon as possible. I did ask him about, because he's the one that said they're doing it in Sumner County, the virtual court, Zoom or whatever, and I did ask him to request that if there's any way possible. Of course, this is in Robertson.
yeah,
So-
the Supreme Court's doing it.
Right. So
Virtual court.
if he can work something out for that. That's all he has.
Dan?
Yeah, I have an update on the Reynolds farm that was bought by the developer. The developer they did some additional soil testing and had good positive results. So they're planning on going forward with that development. And from what I understand, they're going to request a rezoning of that property in the June Planning Commission to a planned unit development, which we didn't have before. We didn't have that zoning before or currently, but in the new ordinance, it's going to be in there. So, and that is it allows for a combination of apartments and townhomes and single family and some retail, I believe.
They are
But
talking retail.
they're going to have some land up front. Isn't that right, Andrew? They're going to have some area up front. I'm not sure how many acres right up front that will be zoned or allowed for retail.
Similar to what was offered up on Bethel Road at North area.
So, yeah, I imagine that's what that would have been. It wasn't just same folks, but I think that's what they were going to do up there. I don't have any additional information on the Shane property down here or the same lot. Is that it? That's it.
I did want to mention, we may have let you guys know this last month, but I don't remember, I'm sorry, that we got notification on the Old Shiloh Bridge. I believe it's May 15th is the letting of that contract.
Yeah, they changed it.
Did we tell y'all that last month?
I think so.
I know the newsletter was done in March, early March, and the newsletter did mention March.
When are they
was
due
the
to
letting.
get them back?
Well, the email that he sent, and I'll read what it says. They've completed all of the pre-construction activities, which include the engineering plans, right-of-way acquisition, utility coordination, environmental studies, and permits that were needed to let this project contract. The bridge replacement project is scheduled in our next contract letting, which is May 15th. Construction will begin shortly after a contract is awarded, which typically occurs within 30 days after the contract letting, assuming bidders' proposals are in range with our engineer's estimates.
So they've already put it out for bid. They're expecting to have the bid by the 15th.
Yeah, they
That's what it sounds like.
they're actually
Yeah.
already done the budgeting to the different contractors.
So hopefully,
It says it's still on for May 15th letting for TDOT, so they're gonna let the
so
bid, so
possibly by mid-June, they'll be
should be
starting work.
starting, right.
Did they ever say how long it would take once they got started?
I don't know that, Dan, do you know?
I think about 3 months.
Wow.
Well, that'd be great.
Good. They can do that in 3 months, get everybody.
The initial, that first time they told us they're going to look.
In March,
let
yeah.
us in March. And when I
27.
talked to the lady at TDOT, she said probably would start the project in June or July. And then it takes whatever to build the bridge.
That is amazing that you can build a bridge in 3 months and it takes 3 years to figure out who's going to do it.
Well, there's a lot of activity that has gone on.
Yeah.
The right of way,
Whatever.
the engineering, the
Yes,
utilities,
to be seen.
environmental studies.
There was a year's worth of
I
Metro
do
saying
know,
they ain't going to
it's
fix it.
way, I know,
Yeah.
way
First year.
overdue for sure.
So we'll see.
And I did want to ask, has anyone been up to the I-65 and seen the lighting up there? How bright it is? Have you been up there? If you haven't, you need to go look.
It's nice.
It's really
Been up there at
nice.
night.
Even coming up, going northbound as you come up the ridge, it is lit up there. So it looks really good.
I will say this, it is amazing how fast, after we got our lights on, how fast they're putting them up down
Yeah, I've
here.
noticed that.
Just
Yeah.
amazing.
They are.
Right, I know, yeah.
Isn't it? Fill us up.
I also wanted to mention, I don't know if you guys saw on the news that one of our patrol cars was backed into and damaged pretty bad. We had a couple different estimates that were kind of way off. So we had the insurance adjuster came out and it did $7,800 worth of damage to that car. So, one of our Dodge Chargers. And the person was arrested and sent to jail. To my knowledge, they had insurance on their vehicle, so ours should be covered also, so they'll subrogate that. The other thing I have is, and also I know that Dan also received this email. We were notified by the architect that the pricing from the monument sign on the new city hall came in around $62,500. So I would assume
Gold plated or something.
that was
A little above.
yes. So we'll have to look at other options for
They're gonna
that.
get a couple other prices, bids.
Which
I thought we was just doing what's right out here.
that's what that is.
Yeah.
That is a sign based on the design drawings we have for the community center.
What did that cost?
I don't remember.
I think it was about 35, 38, something like that.
So,
Big increase
right.
in 10 years. Doubled. We'll talk to Brian about that.
Right. So we may have some other options maybe about possibly using something with our sign up there that's already there. But and we do have, we will be getting, letting the engineers, once they get their estimates together, that the change order coming, that involves, some of the fire, what was that called?
Firewall.
Firewall. That's part of it. And if anyone does have any questions, Andrew is here to answer those questions about the firewalls. I don't remember what the change order was involved in that, the cost. But they'll be addressing that along with a couple other things that have come up. So, and I believe that's all I have.
I got one quick question.
Yes.
I read on the newsletter, I just clarified myself here, that when the sidewalk starts, it only mentions the west side. From City Hall down to the library, it didn't mention the east side. And I remember back a few work sessions ago, we had talked about phase 1 or phase 2. So my opinion that the money that was granted to us from TDOT, 80%, was to cover both sides. Am I wrong? Am I right?
No, you're right.
Thank you.
It's to do both sides. One is, I think 10 feet wide and the one on the other side is going to be 5 feet, I think. If Brian was here, he can give you the
That's
exact.
okay.
One's a
You're right.
multimodal path and the other's
Yeah,
a sidewalk.
one
Is that phase 1 though? Is that?
Well, they had them fight phase 1, phase 2, but now it's just one phase. When TDOT, when they sent and had to redo everything, when we found they hadn't provided that for us.
Real quick, now that,
Well, I did want to mention, and Dan, I'm not real sure if it's all total, both sides. The city does have out of pocket of over $400,000 that we have to match, that we will have to determine when
It's,
we have to come up with that money. So,
Still a
that's the
cheap
20%.
sidewalk.
That's the 20%.
yes,
But that money also includes landscaping and lighting, is my understanding. If Brian was here, I know we'd find out.
there's,
I'm pretty sure it does.
there's lighting, there's signage, where you have to cross over, if you have to cross from like the convenience store across Slater's Creek.
Okay, X mark.
Right, so there are gonna be some signage there, crosswalk, for that, and, so all that has to be.
The best way to
Within the
see
signage.
the sidewalk that they're planning is to go to White House and look at the one that goes out the back of White House.
Yeah, I saw
That's a
that.
10-foot multimodal path that goes out the back of White House.
It's nice.
when you say the back,
Real
which way?
Going towards your house.
Okay, that's multimodal, yeah.
They're currently
Yeah.
negotiating.
It goes up
for
towards the
right away and,
cemetery.
that sort of thing.
Okay.
One other thing I forgot is that we are working on a plan to open City Hall. We're not quite sure when that's going to be to the public, so we're working on a plan
Monday?
it won't be Monday.
I heard it's 3 days.
Hmm?
I heard it was 3 days.
3 days before we open.
No, on the third day you're going to open.
Um,
I did. I heard that's coming in the door.
What about the community center? When will it reopen?
That's not gonna open at least until June. It's closed for May.
So we can't open the outside of it?
Well, that's the outside, so that's gonna, we'll have to look at, we wouldn't be able to open the playground.
The playground can't be
Because
opened
you can't
yet.
have more than,
Only the walking
Yeah.
trails are they're opening, but not playgrounds.
Kind of like Millersville, Moss Ride.
Right.
Maybe you go over there,
Yes.
walking and running.
Yes.
right.
Yeah. So we decided not to open our walking trail. No one has really asked about it because once they open that, the kids are going to see this and want to come here. Now, I have seen people on the basketball court. That's supposed to technically be closed too, but it was late in the evening, so I don't know. We're not gonna put them in
So-
jail for it.
Question, what happened to the documents we're supposed to be signing once a week? They quit doing them?
Yes, the state came back and said that we did not have to renew the emergency declaration to receive any FEMA funding if it were due to us. So we have not done it. Anthony Holt, Sumner County is continuing to do theirs. But
Okay.
that's all I have.
You don't have anything else?
I don't know.
Commissioners' comments?
Said it all.
I got one, and this pertains to the situation last month. I don't mind people getting fired at all. Now, if you don't do your job, you need to get fired or quit. But if we're gonna tell them one thing in order to get paid, and then they leave beforehand because we tell them to leave, then, and we didn't know how to pay, that's wrong. That's the only thing I see that was wrong about the whole deal, was that. And how that was treated, and I think was incorrect.
Now, I'm not sure what you're talking about. So,
Ms. Smith leaving.
right,
She was supposed to get paid till Friday or Thursday or something, but she was told to leave on Tuesday.
she got paid through Wednesday, which is what I told her. So, I really don't want to,
What we stand, but did we not say that she couldn't get paid because we didn't know how to pay someone that wasn't on the clock?
no, sir. She got paid what I told her that I would pay her. However, I was going to recommend severance pay for 2 weeks. But I gave it to you for you to either amend the agenda. The only way you could approve it is to amend the agenda. And no one chose to act on it. So I did everything on my end as far as
I didn't
paying
say
her.
anybody's wrong, by no means. I'm not saying anybody's wrong, other than, my thoughts was
Okay.
it was incorrect on how it was handled. Not saying you or Jerry or me or Tim, I'm just saying as a person, I think that was incorrect. And
Well,
as
I need
far
to
as
know-
that agenda thing, I was sitting in the very back, I did not hear that you could have the, next thing I know, it said adjourn. And then we got up and left, and I was gonna ask then, but last thing I heard, adjourn. And then Tim told me, well, you can't bring it up because we've done adjourn. Well, now, I thought that was wrong too, but that was because I couldn't hear, But that's the only thing I have to say. If the person needs firing, fire. I'm all for that,
Okay.
okay? But I was told that we still owed her 2 days or something like that, or.
I think you were told wrong, and I would be happy to talk to you about this.
Oh,
If you will call me, that's not correct, sir, what you were told.
Okay.
So I paid her what I said she would be paid.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Well, let's see, there was 2 sides to every letter, and I only
Correct.
seen one, See what I'm saying?
well,
You know what I'm talking
mine
about.
mentioned it.
Yeah.
I gave you a copy of what mine said, and that's
Right,
exactly what I
right,
did.
right, okay.
The only thing I was not able to do is I had hoped to find her another position. And I also stated that, but you guys would have to create the position. And I had nowhere for her to go at the time.
Could we, I don't know, instead of severance pay, could you not have put her on furlough, then she could have drawn unemployment?
She can still draw unemployment, I'm sure.
Terminated,
Yes, you can.
well, I was told you couldn't, once you get terminated.
No.
I terminated one of you people, every one of you.
It may be that they don't charge the city's account for what we paid in, but that person would still draw unemployment.
Well, the way the unemployment is right now, they probably still wouldn't have it, but
Well, I filled out the paperwork that was sent to me and I took care of it.
Okay.
So
I'm not saying.
I would just appreciate if you could come and talk to me, and maybe get, my side of the story.
Oh.
Because there, like you said, there's always two sides, and
I'm not saying anybody's wrong.
I did everything that I told her I would do.
That's the only thing I want to say, yeah. Okay. And on that door knocker you were talking about a while ago, does this have Hispanic on one side and English on the other? Do you not, maybe some of those people, we had to do that at NES. One side was English, the other side was Hispanic. Maybe some of those people, it's not.
That's actually a really good idea.
I mean, it's no more, yeah, there might be a few more letters because hello is that long.
As a child, I lived for 4 years in Fish, France. And none of these items that we were given, we lived in a small little village, we were the only Americans there, and everything was in French. So we had to learn to speak French. And I had to learn to read French. And what we didn't know or understand, we would always find somebody that could translate.
Oh, I agree.
I'm just telling you that's my experience in real life.
The only thing, I agree with you 100% because I'd go on calls and guys our age and folks our age, they couldn't speak English, but the kid that tall would tell us what they were saying.
I used to translate for my parents.
See? Yeah.
But the thing about it is,
Yeah, when you're in America, I think definitely you need to speak English,
they didn't cut any slack for us.
but they might just come over on the last vote.
Motion to adjourn.
Adjourn. Second.
Move adjourned. Can you hear me?
I heard that.
All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
We got another meeting.
I know. You ready?
Yes.
You don't need to change. All right, I call to order Millersville Board of Commissioners special meeting Monday, May 4th, 2020 at 6:55 PM. First reading of ordinance 20-744, an ordinance to amend the Millersville Code of Ordinances, Chapter 90, zoning by repealing and replacing the entire chapter with the adoption of a new zoning ordinance. Call for a motion.
Move that we approve on first reading ordinance 20-744, which is an ordinance that amends the Millersville Code of Ordinances, Chapter 90, zoning by repealing and replacing the entire chapter with the adoption of a new zoning ordinance.
Second the motion.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries by unanimous vote. Motion to adjourn.
We adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Tough to get everybody.
Tell me about it.
Shoot, you know where near. Yeah. And fit.